What's going on, guys? Luke Menzies here. I just want to get on here and start this YouTube channel, and I understand there's a lot of headlines, there's a lot of questions, good, bad, positive. I just want to kind of set the record straight and tell my side of the story and my journey in WWE, the good, the bad, the ugly, yeah, and just give you guys an insight into what I'm doing, how I feel, what I've been through, the kind of uncertainty of what I might be going through. I just want to firstly say that like my time at WWE was majority on a positive note. I enjoyed it. I got to wrestle at WrestleMania. I got to be around some great people. You know, I got to travel the world. It was a hugely positive influence on my life, and I am grateful for it. And I know the last 12 months has been rough, and obviously the negative always overshadows the positive. But I just want to reiterate that my time at WWE was great, and I am grateful for it. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the things that I achieved. Coming from a small town in Yorkshire, playing professional rugby, it's something that no one really does. Everyone stays in the little town, in the little bubble, and I'm proud that I took the risk to break out and move my life across the world without any real plan. Yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I am super grateful for the opportunities. And how I got signed, it's quite funny really, because I'd always been a wrestling fan. I'd always loved wrestling. Stone Cold was my guy. I'd always watched wrestling. I used to watch the old World of Sport reruns with my nan back in Yorkshire. She was a massive Big Daddy fan. She would always be shouting like the easy, all these chants, and it's something that I'd always wanted to do. And obviously as a rugby guy, we always kind of hide behind that kind of veil of toughness and macho, and I don't watch wrestling, why'd you watch that? And I kept it kind of to myself. It was like my guilty pleasure, right? Because if the rugby guys found out, I'd get absolutely blasted. So I had a 12-year professional rugby league career. That came to an end when I was on honeymoon. Actually, I got married, I was on honeymoon, and the club that I played for at the time called me up and fired me when I was on honeymoon. So I thought, I don't know what to do. Pretty much the situation that I'm in now. So I took a risk, and I saw a tweet from William Regal, who was putting over the man that retrained him, which is a guy called Marty Jones, who's a famous British wrestler, legend in the game. He emailed me straight back. 2 days later, I flew home to the UK, and I started my first wrestling practice in Oldham, England. 6 months later, I had a WWE tryout. In that time, I'd signed for another rugby club because, again, like the opportunity came about and I needed some cash, so I signed. And the tryout came, and they were like, okay, well, how easy is it to get out of rugby contracts? And I said, well, I think it's pretty easy. I don't think they'll stand in my way. So I got out of my contract with the rugby club that I was playing for. Everything was sorted. I came over to Orlando, did my medicals, and then sold my house, getting ready to go. I think I was due to come in like 2 weeks, and then they said the visa had been declined. So I was left homeless with a pregnant wife. We had to move in with my grandfather, and I worked on the indies for 8 months so I could get some recognition, so I could send kind of like posters and things to prove that I was actually a professional wrestler to the US government, and they thankfully approved the visa. So I came across, started in, I think it was July 2018, went through all the training. I had the first TV match against Matt Riddle, who I wrestled on the house shows more than probably anybody. Wrestled Keith Lee, and things were bubbling along nicely. I was about due to go into a feud with Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era for War Games, and unfortunately I was wrestling Danny Burch. Only Lorcan came out for the save, and we did a couple of dives. On the third one I was supposed to catch him, but as I caught him, I stepped back with my left foot, broke my ankle, which forced the weight of myself and him to go through my right leg, which dislocated my kneecap and ruptured my patella tendon. So 10 months out there, just as I was getting started. And then I found myself getting called up on the main roster when I got back. And the funny thing was, it was like I never really established myself in NXT. I never really had a character, so there was no reference point for the creative team on how to book me. So I got put with Sheamus, which was a massive rub. But as a character and as a performer, I didn't know myself, so it was tough to try and find something to portray on camera, because I'd not had the reps, and I'd not really found myself as a character, as a performer, and it was hard to connect. Pete Dunne joined us, and Pete's a good friend of mine, best wrestler in the world, man, and he helped me immensely. And we were the Brawling Brutes, and we had some great times, traveling on the road with Sheamus when he's driving and trying to watch a TV show on his phone, and he's nearly crashing the car. He's got this big ginger thing in the front seat, nearly crashing his car and stuff. We had some good times traveling the world, wrestling the Usos and wrestling at WrestleMania, Saudi Arabia. It was decent, although I always felt there was a ceiling there. Sheamus was the priority, and I feel like that we were there just to kind of facilitate him and take bumps for him, but whatever, that's what they wanted, that's what we did, we pros. And then obviously I think affected me more than anything was the Big E thing. And I just want to say that if I had a time machine right here, right now, the first thing that I would do is go back and not do that spot. There's not a day that goes by where I don't think about what happened. And there probably will not be a day that goes by where I don't think about it. What happened that day was we were supposed to have a meeting with Vince, and it kept getting pushed back because other people took priority. Like, you had guys who were higher on the card that wanted to speak to Vince, so our meeting kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. We got in there and we had a really good chat, but by the time we got out there, it was like 12 minutes to bell time. I think we were on like first or second, so we had 20 minutes to put this match together. And the spot was Big E goes for that suicide spear. I move at the last minute, he eats shit, and then I hit him with the belly to belly to put an exclamation point on that. In retrospect, what should have happened was suicide dive, that's it, move on. You know, whether I didn't give him enough, whether he didn't give me enough, things go wrong. You know, it's not ballet, and unfortunately it happened, and I'll always regret that spot. And I think I'm grateful that Big E, the class of human that he is, you know, he forgave me, and he's been able to be so positive and move on with his life, and you know, go into punditry and all his stuff he does for like the community with like collegiate athletes and stuff, and I think he works for the next in line stuff. So he's killing it, man. He's such a good human being, and I wish nothing but the best for him. And just for people out there who think that there might be any malice in there wasn't, and if I could change it, I would in a heartbeat. But what happened was it really shook my confidence. I contemplated quitting, to be honest. And when you're going out there and you're on the main roster and you're on like a worldwide spotlight, the last thing you want to happen is for your confidence to go, because it just shows in your performances. As soon as you come out the curtain, the people know. And I think that's what really kind of harmed me from connecting, and I wasn't in the right headspace to go in there, to be honest. I'm just glad that I had people around me that supported me, my wife, my kids, and guys like Pete and Seamus that would pull me up by my bootstraps and say, come on, we've got this. Due to all that fallout, the confidence issues, and kind of like, we were kind of in no man's land as a tag team, and I didn't want the stigma that came along with me from that incident to rub off on Pete, because I knew what kind of performer he was. So I want to go back down to NXT as a reset, but also kind of to free Pete up to go do some of his stuff, because I didn't want him kind of like smeared with the kind of bad, I don't know, the bad vibe that I was giving, or the negative connotations that came with me. I didn't want that to rub off on Pete. So I asked if I could go back down to NXT for a reset, and also hopefully come back up in 6 months with a fresh coat of paint, and kind of we can start again. And that never happened. We had a semi-feud with Ilya, kind of touching on the injury stuff, but it was a bit too close to the bone, so that got nixed, which I can totally understand. We had a few things with Gallus, and then we got into the Chase U thing where we won the belts, and there was the heel turn, and which I thought was really good. I thought that I had great heat. I thought I was probably had the most heat of any heel in NXT, and we went to the main event at Deadline where I signed a new contract, and that's been well documented. I don't want to go into the ins and outs because I don't know where I stand legally at this point. I'm sure I'll touch on it down the line, which is why I started this YouTube channel up, so that you guys can kind of, you know, get information as it comes out, and we can go on this kind of journey together about what's going to happen, where I'm going with my recovery. I think I had a couple more matches with Tony D for the North American title, and then I had a match with Ricky Starks. He was brand new, shiny new toy that came in, and we had a mediocre match. Some things went wrong communication wise, and maybe some forgot a couple of things, but yeah, after that I got taken off TV for months, and then I found myself in Evolve, and I kind of knew that like my back was against the wall here. I mean, I'm not stupid, I can read the room. As wrestlers, we're all kind of paranoid about, or insecure, paranoid, whatever you want to say, about kind of losing our jobs and things like that, and I kind of knew. So I thought, you know, I need something fresh, I need to throw stuff at the wall. So that's when I came back with the tape around the head and kind of wanted to push the rugby gimmick, because although it had been mentioned, we'd never really capitalised on that aspect. You know, you see guys coming in who were football players and they kind of push that, you know, they've been in NFL or whatever. We never really pushed that and made it part of the character, and I thought it's unique enough and outside of the box enough, and people don't know enough about it that we could educate them and get them on board. So that was my thought process for going down the rugby route. I had a couple of good matches on Evolve and found myself in TNA, jumped Mike, had a really, really solid match with Mike, tons of fun. I had a fantastic time at TNA, it was great. Everyone was fantastic there, the boys, everything. You know, I can't say enough good things about that place. And then unfortunately the day after I had that match with Santana, what had happened was I was going for a pop-up powerbomb on Moose. He jumped because he's so athletic, he jumped so high I thought I was going to lose him, so I stepped forward, he came down. I stepped back, the foot twisted, and that was the injury. So I had surgery. I think I recovered for about a week, and I'd got a kind of like a complimentary stay at one of the resorts in Orlando for the family, because my mum had flown over to help with the kids because I was incapacitated, really couldn't really do much. And then we got there the first day, that's when I got the call that they said that they weren't going to renew my contract. Okay, well, I'm injured and don't know how I'm going to make a living. And everyone, you know, I've seen comments about money management and financial stuff. I'm not going to air my financial details on here. That's nobody knows. Everyone has their own opinion, but like I've always said, you know, opinions are like arseholes, right? Everyone's got one, and the majority of them stink. So yeah, I don't want to get into that. The point of this is just to say that I'm grateful for the journey that I've been on. I'm grateful for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what I do want to hold my hands up for is that last tweet that forced the situation to get worse, that was purely out of frustration. And I'm mad at myself for doing that, because something that is kind of out of character for me. I don't react that way, but I think knowing that my career with WWE was coming to an end, and I never really got to show my true potential, whether that's my fault or situational regarding injuries or things that happened, whatever, I felt kind of a little bit wronged. I don't know who by, just by the whole situation. So I hold my hands up, and if I had the time again, I wouldn't have posted that tweet, but I needed an outlet, I needed to vent. So here we are, I'm doing these videos. I'm going to bring you all along on my recovery. I might have to have another surgery, but I'm probably going to have my neck fused. I've got some issues there from my wrestling career where I'm getting kind of radiating pain down my arms, and I think it's a C5, C6 that possibly need fusing there. I've got some nerve compression going on, so I'd like to get that fixed and not have to deal with that in later life, if I'm honest. But yeah, I just want to thank everyone that I've come into contact with, really, and everyone that's helped me and taken the time to give me advice, and everyone that's been in touch over this tough period. I just want to say thank you. I'm going to try and make this YouTube thing and give it a go, see where it takes us, bring you guys on my road to recovery, bring you guys in on what I'm doing, where I'm heading next, because I don't really know. So I really appreciate if you'd like and subscribe and come along this journey with me, because good, bad or indifferent, I think it's going to be entertaining nonetheless. So I'm Luke Menzies, and I guess I'll be seeing you.